What is the meaning of life? It's a question I believe has a profound and personal answer to every single one of us, and we all seek to answer it in our own way. For some, the answer may be acquisition of money or power, but for me, the key factor is happiness. What is it that gives me the most satisfaction? The knowledge that I'm living a rewarding life, fulfilling my deepest desires. For decades, those with that same desire have sought each other out and formed intentional communities, living together and working towards a common goal. A bit of light research shows that there are dozens of such communities around the country with a wide range of intentions, from animal welfare to spiritual enlightenment. These people have found their answer to that question, and 6 months ago I set off on a journey of discovery, visiting some of these communities and talking to them, in the hopes of finding my own answer. Within these communities there is generally some level of cooperation and sharing, of food, resources and labour, depending on the needs of the community. And in what I see as a world so often lacking in cooperation, I endeavoured to visit some of these communities to see if they could offer the answer I'm looking for. Join me now as I meet the people living with intention. Every journey has to start somewhere, and mine begins on a rainy platform at Winchester train station. After a long, cold wait, time enough to contemplate what I hoped to gain from the trip, my diesel-belching train finally hoved into view and collected me for a 5-hour journey to my first destination. By their very nature, the communities I was visiting had to be remote, cut off from the immediate urban environment. Winchester is by no means a concrete jungle, and it was nice to see how much open space there is outside of the city. But as I travelled further and further west, signs of civilization became more and more scarce. Eventually, though, I reached my first stop, the Wild Futures Monkey Sanctuary in Looe, South Cornwall. The sanctuary rescues primates from the exotic pet trade throughout Europe. With only a few full-time employees, the sanctuary relies on volunteers to help look after the animals and maintain the community. For 2 weeks I worked as one of these volunteers and spoke to the staff about their experiences here.
So I'm Holly and I live and work here at Wild Futures Monkey Sanctuary in Cornwall. The sanctuary began in 1964 and it was set up by a man called Len Williams, who's the father of John Williams, who's a famous Spanish guitar player. He had acquired a few woolly monkeys, rescued them, and they'd been kept as pets in various circumstances. And they needed more space, basically. And the community developed because of that, because of the work and the fact that more woolly monkeys were rescued from the pet trade. So the woolly monkeys we have here now are descended from those original monkeys who used to come into the house and drink from the tap and help themselves to the jam and things like that. So the community was monkeys and people at the beginning. So the more monkeys there were and the more spaces there were to clean out, the more hands were needed. And people came to help out because they were fascinated by the species, but also by the concept of this kind of interliving idea that Len was interested in, that people and monkeys could kind of cross paths peacefully. We feel it's completely essential to have people on site all the time, and we are a tiny charity, so we don't get paid a huge amount of money, so it's a massive help to the staff to be able to live here and have all the food provided and everything like that.
Yeah, my name is Will, and I've actually been a keeper here over the years, but I'm here at the moment as a volunteer. so the place can't get rid of me. And one of the things which seems to keep drawing me back is the sense of belonging to something which was outside yourself. So you've got the cause of looking after and rescuing pet monkeys, but living as a community, it's been a fascinating experience of understanding yourself, living in a group of people.
It's hard to imagine the monkey sanctuary without a community, really hard, because it's a vocation, basically.
Well, I'm Kirsty Rains, I'm an Aussie. Came to Wild Futures to learn a little bit more about primates. It's turned out to be a pretty amazing experience, really, learning a whole lot more about a species.
We're very conscious of an attempt to be sustainable as much as we can, and so sharing resources, food and energy is very important to us as well. So we do as much kind of communal cooking as we can, time-wise and whatever, just to save on that.
The sense of community here is really what sort of keeps the place going, really, because like I say, we're all living together and working for the same cause.
We're held together mostly by the will to be here for the monkeys, and most people are kind of devoting their lives to conservation in one way or another, and this is a very direct way of doing that. And we do pull together, and we've just had Christmas and everybody works even on their day off. They're at least helping to prepare the massive dinner that everyone's having, and people who normally are doing other jobs like working in the office or doing our maintenance or whatever just help out with the really important tasks of a day, like cleaning out the monkeys, so that everyone can finish earlier and everyone can sit down to dinner. And so yeah, we pull together in that kind of way.
Living in a community like this, you actually end up learning more about people than you do about monkeys.
The negatives are that it does make it difficult to get your own space sometimes. This is my job, and maybe it shouldn't be my entire life. I need to live and also work and normally go out and play with the same people all the time.
It's very similar working with people in the house and working with monkeys. We're all sort of very the same, and although sometimes I think I'd rather live with the monkeys rather than the people in the house. But
the location of this place makes it more tricky. I would say that's a more difficult negative to deal with than the actual community itself, because it's harder to find elsewhere, somewhere else to go. It's a very, very rural place.
It can always be a little difficult living where you work and working where you live, and building those relationships, but everyone here is sort of on the same level and loves being here and loves what they do, so it's a good little community.
People are communal animals and have always been.
Come on, carry on. Okay.
You have a family, and we are really, really supportive of one another. You don't ever have to be on your own if you don't want to be. There's just nothing like finishing work on a summer afternoon and going down to the beach with everybody, and you can sit out the front of the house for 3 hours, 4 hours after you finish work, and everything you need is right there. If there's anywhere that you can kind of reenact the cosy sort of traditional community feeling, community referring to an entire village or a town or something like that, where you actually all sit down and engage in the same creative endeavour that's not just playing on the TV, then it's somewhere like this.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.